What's up, Lantern fans? It's the Emerald Enthusiast coming at you with another action figure review. This time I'm taking a look at the DC Universe Classics Toys R Us exclusive action figure 2-pack of Fall Sinestro and Green Lantern Hal Jordan. This exclusive 2-pack hit the market very late in 2010. It's taken me a while to find another set that I could bust out for this review, but I finally found a seller who was willing to sell to me at a reasonable price. So let's go ahead and look at the package details. There's product information on the bottom. On the top, there's a partial window in a lantern shape with a yellow and green color scheme. There are windows on each side of the packaging. This one says Hal Jordan's Constructs of Will. And on the opposite side, we get 3 accessories, and this one says Fall Sinestro's Constructs of Fear. On the back, there's a small reproduction of Green Lantern Volume 2, number 52, which depicts the iconic rivalry between Hal Jordan and Sinestro. There are full-body product shots, and it says a battle of will versus fear. Here's a brief description of the history between Hal Jordan and Sinestro. If you'd like to read this, pause the video and do so now. The front features a variant cover of Green Lantern Volume 4, number 60. There's the choking hazard sticker as well as the Toys R Us sticker. I think that the half green, half yellow personal power battery looks outstanding, as well as this very dynamic pose of Sinestro facing Hal Jordan. And very little of either figure is obscured by the packaging. And now it's time to bust these figures out of the package and see what's inside. Here are the figures out of the box, but still bound to the inner plastic. Here is a close-up of the 6 Construct accessories. Let's start by taking a look at Sinestro's constructs here. And we have this pickaxe construct. I like the sculpting on this. I really like this translucent plastic. And here we have this mace. And this does fit easily into his hand. There's plenty of good sculpting detail on the handle. And here we have this giant adjustable wrench construct. The plastic was stuck in place, so I had to work with it, and eventually I got the mechanism to work. And as you can see, you can adjust this accessory, and I think that is pretty cool as well. Now let's have a look at Hal's constructs. And first we have this gun, and other than the shading, I think this is identical to the one that came with John Stewart in Wave 11. The figure also comes with this metallic flail. And it actually works very well, but it's not a solid green. As you can see, the chain is a metallic color. Although I do like the way that that looks. This translucent plastic is just outstanding. It also wouldn't be difficult to paint that chain green if you wanted to make that a solid color. The blade does move, but this is not sharp. This is not something that will hurt you, but I do think that this is very eye-catching. And here we see Fall Sinestro and Hal Jordan out of the package and ready to rumble. Both of these figures are excellent. They will make fine additions to your DC Universe Classics collection or your Green Lantern collection. So let's take a closer look at the loose details of these figures now. Let's have a look at Sinestro's lower body. And as you can see, this is the pre-Sinestro core look. I like how glossy both the blue and black sections are. The musculature also looks really good for Sinestro. There's plenty of definition, but he's not too bulky, and that's the way that it should be. I wish that the top of the boots were sculpted, but there is a slight paint difference there. There's excellent sculpting all the way around here. You can see definition on the hamstrings as well as the calf muscles. So I'm very thankful for that. Also, the top of the trunks are sculpted and painted very well. Now let's have a look at the torso. And this is a good representation of Sinestro's body type. The body mold really hits the mark here. Again, he's very fit looking, but he's not overly muscular. And I think that looks very good. But you can see definition in the abdominals and the pectorals. I like the paint applications on the blue sections. Most of the blue is a matte blue, although the blue on the arm gauntlets is more metallic, but I still think that both of these are very eye-catching. Now let's have a look at the arms, and there's plenty of definition on the biceps and the triceps. You can see that here. The sculpting on the forearm gauntlets is very exact. His muscles are very long, and I think that's fitting for Sinestro. When he was introduced into the comics, he was a very tall, lanky character, and I think that looks excellent. I like the skin tone. Depending on who colored him over the years, sometimes he's more red, other times he's pink, but I think this looks very realistic for alien skin. Now let's have a look at the ring. The ring on the figure is a mixed bag, and unfortunately I think that there are more negatives than positives. Some of the flesh is visible on each side of the ring, so it looks more like a yellow lump than an actual ring going around the finger, so the sculpting could have been better. The paint applications are good, I will give credit there, but ultimately this ring is just too small. Now let's have a look at the head sculpt, and Mattel did an outstanding job here. Green Lantern fans often have very strong feelings about how high Sinestro's forehead should be, and I think Mattel found an adequate middle ground here in terms of the size of the skull. And the sculpting around the face is just amazing, as well as the hair. You can see the individual strands, but they're slicked back the way that they should be. And the expression is very fitting for Sinestro as well. Here is the pickaxe construct, and with each one of these, you simply fit it over Sinestro's hand, and especially from this angle, they look really good because they look like constructs that are being formed around the ring, and I think that's very fitting. Here's a look at the wrench construct. This is a little bit of an odd choice because I really don't think about Sinestro making earth tools as constructs, but this is the most intricate of the three, so I appreciate it on that level. And this translucent yellow plastic does an excellent job of representing the kind of yellow energy that comes from Sinestro's ring. And here's Sinestro holding the yellow mace construct. I was a little bummed out that neither Sinestro or Hal Jordan had personal power batteries, but at least Sinestro holds this accessory securely. Now let's have a look at the articulation. There are single pin ankles that move back and forth, however these are very tight. I'll probably have to heat these up if I want them to move. The figure has single jointed knees, and you can get him into a running pose should you so desire. There's a quadriceps swivel right over the knees, and the figure has excellent articulation in the hips. You can get him to do a full split, so I'm very happy with that. And you can get the legs to rotate, so that gives you posing options. The figure kicks forward this far, so that is excellent. And you can get him to step back, so that is very useful for a ring-slinging pose. I'm very thankful for that. The waist pivots back and forth. There's an upper torso crunch, as you can see demonstrated here. The figure has single jointed elbows, and you can achieve this angle with them. There's also rotation at both of the wrists. That will help with posing options as well. Bicep swivel on both of the arms. You can raise the arms up at the shoulder joints this far. The shoulder joints will also allow you to do a 360 with the arms. The head on my figure is very tight. You may be able to hear that. I can get him to look up and down a little, a very minute amount of head tilting, and I can get him to look side to side, but it should move more fluidly than this. And now let's look at the icon himself, Hal Jordan. Here's a look at the lower body, and right away you can see just how magnificent this metallic green paint looks. And on top of that, look at all of this superb sculpting. There are wrinkles right at the top of the feet. You can see the calf muscles there. I would have preferred for the boots to have sculpted tops, but the quads are sculpted well, and I really like this glossy black finish. Perhaps there could have been a little more sculpting in the hamstrings, but still, there's very little to criticize here. Now let's have a look at the torso. And once again, this metallic green paint just looks perfect. You can see the light dancing off of it. Once again, there's superb sculpting in the traps and the lats. There's a stamp back here that I wish were in a less obvious place, but at least it's not on the front of the figure. The symbol is not sculpted. It is paint alone. The lines are clean and tight, so I'll give it credit there. But this is not my favorite design for the Green Lantern symbol. You can see that really small circle in the middle and the really large top and bottom lines, and all I can think of is a TIE fighter when I see this. So there are better ways to do this, but still, that's a minor criticism. Now let's have a look at the arms. And you can see the biceps and triceps sculpted here. Hal is much beefier than Sinestro. Here's a look at the white gloves. And we'll take a closer look at the ring in a second. Much like Sinestro, he has a gripping hand but no personal power battery, so that is somewhat disappointing. But I appreciate the sculpting on the deltoids. Now, when you articulate the figure's arms, you get this weird looking section underneath here where it's both green and black. But I have to say that overall the paint applications on the arms are very admirable. Here's a closer look at the ring, and obviously it is done much better than Sinestro's ring. It is a much more accurate size, and there's better sculpting, especially on the edges, and the paint applications, once again, are spot on. Now let's take a look at the head sculpt, and overall I think this has been executed quite well. I'm very appreciative of the way the mask has been sculpted. You can see all of the edges here, and this is how Hal Jordan's mask should look. The hair is very realistic. You can see the individual strands have been sculpted in, and I really appreciate that. Perhaps it could be just a little lighter to be more comic accurate in that department, but that's a very minor criticism. Now, as I mentioned before, I do have one issue, and that is that I prefer Hal's eyes to be a solid white. I just think that this type of look is a little more mysterious. So that's my preference there, but I will say that the paint applications are excellent on the eyes. Here's a look at Hal with the flail. And again, you just slide the ring hand into the accessory, and it fits snugly. And as you can see, this is a very dynamic accessory. Here is Hal with the buzzsaw accessory, and there are a number of ways to pose the figure with this particular accessory that look really cool, like having him with this crossbody stance. It's very eye-popping. Here is Hal with the gun construct, and I did have some issues with this particular accessory. The part that latches onto the forearm isn't as pliable as the similar accessory that I have with the John Stewart figure. I wasn't able to get this on with the accessory pressed right up against the ring, and that's the way that it's intended to be. I could probably heat this up, but I was more concerned about doing paint damage to the glove. Now let's have a look at articulation, and the ankles move backward and forward very easily. By the way, this figure does have portholes in the bottom of the feet, as does the Sinestro figure, so if you have extra bases lying around, you can get the figures on them. The figure has a single jointed knee, and you can get him into a running pose. Just like the other figure, he has a quadricep swivel right over the knee. In terms of the hip articulation, not quite as good as Sinestro's, but still acceptable. You can get the figure to kick forward that far. You can get him to step back, and I'm always appreciative of that. There's pivoting at the waist. You can get the figure to crunch forward that much, and you can get him to rock back considerably for a flying pose, so I like that as well. There's rotation at both of the wrists. The shoulder joints allow you to raise the arms up this far, so I'm thankful for that. There's a bicep swivel. That gives you posing options. You can certainly get him into the big power pose. The arms do a 360. There's a single jointed elbow, and you can move the forearm back that far. In terms of articulation, the head moves easily from side to side. He looks up that much, he looks down that much, and there is a minor degree of head tilting. Here is the hybrid battery, and I am thankful for the classic cover homage. This is a unique accessory. I just wish that we would have gotten a separate green battery and a separate yellow battery. If you're wondering if you can get the figures into the original pose outside of the packaging, the answer is yes. However, it took me several tries to get the battery to stay in place. It certainly doesn't feel like something that's steady enough to stay put. And now some final thoughts on this 2-pack. There are a number of reasons why you might want to pick up this set for your collection. It's only going for about $35 now, despite being a Toys R Us exclusive. I think that's a solid value in today's market. If you're someone who likes to do stop motion or dynamic posing, these figures offer you so many options with the various accessories as well as the excellent articulation. However, the packaging on this is so dynamic, you might just want to leave these figures in the box. And if you're a fan of the timeless rivalry between Sinestro and Hal Jordan, I definitely recommend adding this to your collection. I certainly hope you have enjoyed this review. If so, please like and subscribe. Stay tuned for some articulation shots, and also remember to catch me on the Emerald Echo podcast, where we cover the adventures of all of your favorite ring slingers, and that's part of Multiverse Musings, the vidcast, which is available right here on YouTube. And I'll be back with more Green Lantern-related content soon. But until we meet again, this has been the Emerald Enthusiast, and thanks for watching.